The old dusty bus stood at the corner of the street, its faded blue paint peeling away, revealing patches of rust beneath. No one ever seemed to notice it, except for little Ayan, who walked past it every evening on his way home. He often wondered why it never moved, why the driver, a mysterious old man with silver hair, sat quietly in his seat, staring ahead as if waiting for something unseen. One evening, as Ayan passed by, the old man called out to him, his voice deep yet warm. "Would you like to take a ride?" Ayan hesitated. His parents had always warned him about strangers, but there was something about the old man's eyes, kind yet filled with secrets, that made him step forward. As soon as he placed his foot on the first step, the entire bus rumbled to life. The doors shut behind him and a strange golden glow filled the vehicle. The seats, once tattered and dull, transformed into plush velvet. The windows, fogged up with dust, suddenly became clear, revealing a sky unlike anything Ayan had ever seen. Instead of the familiar street outside, he was now surrounded by a vast expanse of twinkling stars. "Where are we going?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The old man smiled. "Wherever your dreams take you." With a jolt, the bus shot forward, soaring through the night sky like a comet. The city lights vanished beneath them, and Ayan found himself staring at landscapes beyond his imagination. Forests that glowed with silver leaves, rivers that flowed upward, castles floating among the clouds. Suddenly, a whisper echoed through the bus. "He's coming." Ayan turned to see a young girl sitting at the very back. Her long, dark hair cascaded over her shoulders, and her eyes gleamed with something between excitement and fear. "Who's coming?" he asked. She pointed at the front window. A shadow loomed in the distance, growing larger by the second. Ayan's heart pounded as he saw the outline of a monstrous creature with wings as dark as the night and eyes that burned like fire. "The Nightmare Keeper," the girl whispered. "He tries to steal dreams." The bus swerved sharply, but the shadow followed. The old man gripped the wheel, his expression calm yet focused. "Ayan, you must steer the bus now," he said suddenly. "Me?" Ayan gasped. "But I don't know how." "Believe in your dreams," the old man said, stepping aside. With trembling hands, Ayan took the wheel. The moment he touched it, the bus shimmered with a golden light, and a surge of warmth filled his chest. He didn't know how, but he knew what to do. He steered the bus sharply to the left, weaving through floating islands and glowing waterfalls, dodging the Nightmare Keeper's grasp. The bus sped faster, leaving a trail of stardust in its wake. But the creature wouldn't give up. It opened its massive wings and lunged forward. "Use your dream, Zhao Buinan," the girl shouted. Ayan closed his eyes. He thought of a shield, a barrier made of light and warmth, something so powerful that even nightmares couldn't break through. When he opened his eyes, a radiant golden dome surrounded the bus. The Nightmare Keeper roared in frustration as it slammed into the barrier, dissolving into nothingness. The bus steadied, the tension in the air lifting. The old man patted Ayan's shoulder, pride twinkling in his eyes. "You did well," he said. Ayan let out a shaky breath, his heart still racing. "What was that?" "A test," the girl said with a smile, "to see if you're ready." "Ready for what?" Ayan asked. But before she could answer, The bus landed softly. The doors creaked open, revealing Ian's familiar street. Everything looked the same, except for the faint golden glow that still surrounded him. "Will I see you again?" he asked. The old man nodded. "Whenever you need us." Ian stepped off the bus. The moment his foot touched the ground, the bus vanished into thin air, leaving behind only a swirl of stardust. That night, as he lay in bed, he realized something. The world was much bigger, much more magical than he had ever imagined, and the journey had only just begun. Ian couldn't sleep that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he felt the soft hum of the bus, the warmth of its golden light, and the rush of wind as it soared through the sky. His mind kept replaying the encounter with the nightmare keeper, the fire in its eyes, the eerie way it had followed them. But most of all, he couldn't stop thinking about the old man's last words. "Whenever you need us." What did that mean? Would the bus return? The next few days passed in a blur. Ian went to school, did his homework, and pretended everything was normal. But nothing felt normal anymore. The ordinary world, his street, his classroom, even his favorite comic books, felt dull compared to what he had seen. Then one night, as he lay in bed staring at the ceiling, he heard it, a distant honk. His heart leapt. He threw off his blanket and ran to the window. There, at the street corner, bathed in the silver light of the moon, stood the bus. Without a second thought, he rushed outside. The bus doors hissed open and Ian stepped in, breathless. This time the old man wasn't alone. The girl from before was there, along with a boy who looked a little older than Ian. He had curly hair, sharp eyes, and a confident smirk. "You're late," the boy teased. "Give him a break, Zayden," the girl said, rolling her eyes. "He's new." "New to what?" Ian asked, sitting down. The old man turned around, his silver eyes gleaming. "New to the Dream Guardians." Ian's heart pounded. "Dream Guardians?" Zayden leaned back, crossing his arms. "Yeah, every night people dream. Some dreams are just dreams. But some, they're doorways. And nightmares? Well, they try to break through. We protect the dreamer," the girl added. "We keep nightmares from escaping into the real world." Ian's mind swirled. "You mean nightmares are real?" "Very real," Zayden said darkly. "But so are dreams," the old man said. "And that is why you're here, Ian." Before he could ask what that meant, the bus roared to life. This time, he was ready. He held onto his seat as the bus shot into the sky, leaving the city far behind. They soared past planets with glowing rivers, over forests filled with floating fireflies, the size of birds, and finally into a misty realm where everything shimmered like glass. "Where are we?" Ian asked. "The dream realm," the girl said. "It connects all dreams together." Suddenly the bus shuddered. Ian gasped as dark tendrils slithered through the mist, wrapping around the bus like living shadows. "Nightmare breach," Zayden shouted. The old man slammed his hands onto the wheel. "Hold on!" The bus twisted and turned, but the shadows wouldn't let go. They coiled tighter, dragging them down. The golden light flickered, and for the first time Ian saw fear flash across the old man's face. "We need more power," the girl shouted. "Ian," the old man called, "you have to do it again." "Do what?" Ian stammered. "Summon the light." but I don't know how." "Yes, you do." Ayan squeezed his eyes shut. He thought of the golden barrier he had created before. He imagined warmth, light, and hope. Let there be light. A rush of energy exploded from his chest. The bus pulsed with golden fire, and suddenly the shadows screamed as they shriveled away. The bus steadied. The mist cleared. They had escaped. Ayan gasped, his hands shaking. "Did I do that?" The old man smiled. "Yes, and much more, if you learn." The bus landed on a strange, glowing island. Ayan stepped outside and gasped. In front of him stood a giant golden gate. It pulsed with symbols that shifted like waves. "This is the gateway of dreams," the girl explained. "It leads to the heart of the dream realm. If nightmares break through here, they can escape into the real world." Ayan swallowed. "And what do we do?" Zayden smirked. "We stop them." Just then, the sky above them darkened. A shiver ran down Ayan's spine as a low growl rumbled through the air. Something was coming, and this time Ayan knew. He had to be ready. Ayan stood frozen before the glowing gateway of dreams, its shifting golden symbols pulsing like a heartbeat. The air around him crackled with energy. Behind him, the magical bedtime bus hummed softly, its golden glow flickering. The old man, Zayden, and the girl, whom he had yet to learn the name of, stood beside him, their faces tense. Then came the growl, deep, hollow, bone-chilling. Ayan's breath hitched as the sky above them darkened, swirling like ink in water. The mist around the island thickened, slithering like living creatures. Something ancient and terrible was waking up. Zayden clenched his fists. "It's him." Ayan turned. "Who?" The girl whispered. "The Nightmare King." Lightning cracked across the dark sky, illuminating the monstrous figure stepping through the mist. He was tall, his body wrapped in shadows that twisted and flickered like smoke. His face was hidden beneath a cracked silver mask, but his eyes, they burned like fire, filled with an endless hunger. The old man took a slow step forward, his voice calm yet firm. "You are not welcome here." The Nightmare King chuckled, his voice sending shivers down Ayan's spine. "And yet, here I am." His shadowed form spread across the ground like spilled ink, reaching toward the gateway of dreams. The symbols on the gate flickered, dimming, as if being drained of their power. "He's trying to open it," the girl gasped. Ayan felt his heartbeat hammer against his ribs. If the Nightmare King broke through the gate, nightmares, real nightmares, would flood into the real world, and no one would be able to stop them. "We have to fight," Zayden growled, cracking his knuckles. The Nightmare King tilted his head. "You cannot stop me." Without warning, shadows exploded from his body, hurtling toward them like a tidal wave. Ayan barely had time to react before Zayden grabbed his wrist and yanked him back. "Move, rookie!" The old man slammed his staff onto the ground. A burst of golden light surged forward, pushing back the darkness. But the Nightmare King only laughed. "You're weak, old man." The shadows twisted and formed monstrous creatures, half wolf, half serpent, their glowing red eyes locked onto Ayan. He stumbled back. "What do we do?" "Fight!" Zayden shouted, leaping into action. He swung his hand, and a burst of blue fire erupted from his palm, slamming into the nearest shadow beast. The girl raised her hands, and silver ribbons of light shot out, wrapping around two creatures, crushing them into dust. Ayan's hands trembled. I don't know how. Yes, you do, the old man shouted. You did it before. Call the light. Ayan squeezed his eyes shut. He remembered the feeling from before, the warmth, the energy, the golden glow that had protected them. I can do this. He took a deep breath and thrust his hands forward. A surge of golden fire erupted from his palms, blasting through the shadows. The creature screamed, dissolving into nothing. Ayan's eyes flew open. I did it! Don't celebrate yet, Xaden grunted. We still have him to deal with. The Nightmare King raised his hands, and the ground cracked beneath them. Black tendrils burst out, trying to drag them into the abyss. The old man's eyes narrowed. Ayan, you must close the gate. Ayan's heart pounded. How? The same way you created the shield. Imagine it. Will it into being. Ayan turned to the gateway of dreams. It was weakening, its light fading. The Nightmare King was winning. He couldn't let that happen. He closed his eyes. He imagined the gate glowing bright again, whole, powerful, sealed forever. A warm energy surged through him, rushing into his fingertips. He lifted his hands, and suddenly, the gate responded. The golden symbols blazed with light, brighter than the sun. The mist burned away, and the Nightmare King let out a furious roar. No! The shadows recoiled, writhing in agony. The Nightmare King's form began to flicker, his power weakening. This isn't over, Showa, he growled. You can't stop the nightmares. You can't stop me. With one final roar, the Nightmare King vanished into the darkness. The moment he disappeared, the sky cleared. The mist was gone. The gateway of dreams stood strong once more, its golden light untouched. Ayan collapsed onto his knees, breathing hard. Did we win? The old man smiled. For now. Xaden rolled his shoulders. Not bad, rookie, the girl grinned. Told you he had it in him. Ayan looked at them, realization dawning. He wasn't just a passenger on the magical Bedtime bus anymore. He was a dream guardian. The old man stepped forward, placing a hand on Ayan's shoulder. There will always be nightmares, Ayan. But now, you have the power to fight them. Ayan looked up at the sky, at the countless dreams floating in the distance. He nodded. I'm ready. The old man smiled. The bus doors hissed open, and the adventure was just beginning. The doors of the Bedtime bus hissed open, and Ayan stepped inside, his heart still racing from the battle against the Nightmare King. The golden interior of the bus hummed with energy, as if it too was recovering from the fight. The old man took his seat at the front, gripping the wheel with a deep sigh. Xaden leaned against a seat, arms crossed, his sharp eyes still flickering with adrenaline. The girl, who Ayan had fought alongside but still didn't know the name of, was sitting on the edge of a seat, gazing out of the window. As the bus lifted into the sky, gliding smoothly through the dream realm, Ayan finally found his voice. Who exactly was the Nightmare King Lalanis? The old man didn't turn around, but his grip on the wheel tightened. Xaden and the girl exchanged a look. Finally, the girl spoke. His real name is Calith. Ayan frowned. Calith? Xaden exhaled, shaking his head. He wasn't always a nightmare. Once, he was one of us. Ayan blinked. You mean a dream guardian? The old man finally spoke, his voice heavy with memory. He was the greatest of us all, the strongest, the bravest. He fought against nightmares for years, protecting dreamers and keeping the dream realm safe. Then what happened? Ayan asked. The girl bit her lip. He fell. Xaden ran a hand through his messy curls. You saw how nightmares try to break through, right? They whisper, they tempt, they offer. He scoffed. Caliph thought he could control them. He believed that if he took their power, he could end nightmares forever. The girl sighed. But nightmares can't be controlled. They consumed him instead. He became one. Ayan felt a chill creep down his spine. So he used to be a hero. He was more than a hero, the old man said softly. He was my student. Ayan's eyes widened. He was your student? The old man nodded. And now he is my greatest regret. The bus fell into silence. Ayan tried to imagine it. Caliph, before he became the Nightmare King. A protector, a warrior, a dream guardian just like them. But something inside him had turned dark. He had lost himself to the very thing he once fought against. Could that happen to anyone? Could it happen to Ayan? He shook the thought away. So what now? Ayan asked. The old man's eyes flickered to the gateway of dreams, now distant behind them. Caliph was weakened today, but he isn't gone. He will return, and next time, he will not fight alone. Ayan swallowed. You mean there are more like him? Xaden scoffed. You think nightmares don't have their own army? The girl's voice was softer. The Nightmare Court. They're his followers. They control the worst kinds of nightmares. Fear, despair, loneliness. And if Caliph is gathering them, she didn't finish. She didn't have to. Ayan understood. The battle wasn't over. If anything, it was only the beginning. The bus landed softly on a floating island of dreams. It was beautiful. Tall silver trees shimmered under a golden sky, and the air smelled like honey and moonlight. Ayan felt a strange peace settle in his chest. The old man stood. We will rest here tonight. You all did well. Ayan followed Xaden and the girl outside, stepping onto the soft cloud-like ground. He finally turned to her, his curiosity getting the best of him. I never got your name, he said. The girl looked surprised, then smiled. It's Lyra. Ayan smiled back. Lyra, nice to meet you. Properly, I mean, she chuckled. Nice to meet you too, Rookie. Xaden stretched his arms. All right, Rook. You didn't completely mess up today. Maybe you'll survive. Ayan rolled his eyes. Gee, thanks. They sat around a glowing fire that seemed to burn without wood. The flames danced, shifting colors. Gold, blue, silver. Ayan finally spoke. I don't get it. If Caliph was so powerful, why didn't you stop him earlier? The old man stared into the fire. Because I believed in him. Even when he was slipping into darkness, I thought I could bring him back, he sighed. I was wrong. Ayan hesitated, then asked the question that had been gnawing at him. Do you think he can be saved? Everyone turned to look at him. Lyra's expression softened, but she didn't answer. Xaden's jaw tightened. The old man closed his eyes for a long moment. Finally, he said, I don't know. The flames flickered, casting long shadows across their faces. Ian felt something shift inside him, a determination he hadn't felt before. Calith had once been one of them, a hero, a protector. Maybe he couldn't be saved, but maybe he could. And if there was even the smallest chance, Ian wasn't going to give up on him, because heroes don't give up, even on the ones who fall.